So, The Falcon and Winter Soldier is now the second Marvel Disney Plus series to arrive, and it's pretty insane, to be honest, that we are now in this era of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We are now receiving simultaneous movies and TV series at the same time. And obviously we've had WandaVision a few months ago, and that was absolutely fantastic. So I was pretty excited to see what they were going to do with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, given the fact that these are two characters that I really like and I really wanted to see more of. And, you know, this series I always kind of viewed as an extension of the Captain America films, and they are by far my favourite standalone films in the Marvel Universe, up there with Spider-Man. I absolutely love the Captain America films, so to kind of get a Captain America TV series was something I was definitely very much up for. So now we have the series and we've seen all 6 episodes. How is it as an overall season? Let's discuss. So the story of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier basically revolves around Sam and Bucky, of course, coming back together following the events of Avengers Endgame, and with that we have the government appointing a brand new Captain America in the form of John Walker, and while Sam and Bucky have to deal with that, they also have to deal with the rising threat of the Flag Smashers, who are a new terrorist group who are basically trying to reset the world back to the way it was during the blip. So quite an interesting story going on in the Falcon and Winter Soldier, definitely one that felt true to the Captain America lineage. Like I said, this is basically an extension of the Captain America films, and this story kind of felt like that. It had a political side to it, which obviously Captain America has always kind of dealt with in his films, and also it had really action heavy moments too, which again Captain America has always had really great action, particularly very grounded action, and this series follows suit with that as well. Now, I don't think the story was absolutely amazing or anything like that. It was a pretty decent story just to keep this series going along, but for me, all the interesting stuff from the show comes from the individual characters, which I will delve into now. Starting off with Sam Wilson, aka the Falcon. He was fantastic in this series. Anthony Mackie has once again done a phenomenal job playing this character. I really like Anthony Mackie. I realize every time I see him that he's just a great actor and just a really nice presence to have in your show or your movie, and he's great as Sam. Once again in this show, I absolutely loved him as the Falcon. I thought he was great. Also, they added so much more depth to his character in this. We actually got to see his family life. We got to see him have actual struggles financially and personally. Given the fact that the Avengers aren't really much of a thing at the moment, given the fallout from Endgame, and a lot of the Avengers either gone or dead, the Avengers aren't really a thing anymore, so Sam isn't really receiving funding or anything like that, even though everyone thinks he probably should be. The fact of the matter is he just isn't, and we get to see him deal with that, and that was really, really nice. And also just Sam as a character, again, he just got so much more time and so much more air to breathe, room to breathe throughout the series, which was really nice to see. And I just think Anthony Mackie had so many moments throughout the series, particularly in the latter half, the latter episodes, where we got to see him talk to characters like Isaiah Bradley, who I'll get to, and also the big speech he has in the final episode. He just gets some fantastic moments throughout, and I think Sam has become a truly great character among the MCU, and kind of like what WandaVision did for Wanda, I feel like Falcon and Winter Soldier did for Sam. So I think he's a really great addition to the MCU, and I'm really happy we have him now as our new Captain America, because he truly deserves it and truly fits that role. Moving over to talk about Bucky Barnes, aka the Winter Soldier, played by Sebastian Stan. This is a character that I really liked when he was first introduced as the villain back in the Winter Soldier, but since then, his character has kind of been lacking a little bit for me, and I think that's because he hasn't had as much focus as he probably should have had, and now that he's now gotten that focus within this series, I think it's elevated Bucky to be a much better character. While still not one of my all-time favorites or anything like that, it's still really cool to actually see Bucky get such a full frontal focus here. And also on top of that, you really get to see Bucky's arc kind of come full circle in this series, because even though I feel like there's a lot more to go with Bucky, I feel like there's a lot more story to delve into, I feel like that Bucky, by the end of this series, we see him and he's happy, he's complete, which is a long way from what we first saw of him back when he first was reintroduced as the Winter Soldier following his death in the first Avenger. It was definitely a complete arc by the end of this series, in my opinion. And like I say, even though I feel like there is another way to go with Bucky, I feel like we can definitely explore more of his story as the White Wolf and things like that, and kind of bringing him into his own unique hero. He has now left the life of the Winter Soldier, and he is now just Bucky Barnes, and I think that was really nice to see. Now, another character who had returned from the Captain America films for this series was Daniel Bruhl as Baron Zemo. And this was a character that I was very excited to see in this, because I thought Zemo was a really good villain in Captain America Civil War, but obviously he wasn't really the primary focus when it came to that film. Like, even though he is technically the main villain of that movie, he isn't what you're focusing on when you're watching that film. You're a lot more focused on the actual conflict between Steve and Tony. But Zemo in this, he's kind of completely different. Like, he's this completely different character by this point. But in a way, I kind of enjoyed that, because obviously in Civil War, he's a very depressed man. But in this, he's kind of silly in this, and I kind of enjoyed that, even though it is definitely a bit of a tonal shift for his character. I really liked what Daniel Bruhl did with it. Like, obviously, this is all kind of personified by, like, the dancing scene we get in, I think, episode 3, which has obviously just become a big meme. But on top of that, I just really enjoyed Zemo's character. Like, I kind of enjoyed what the MCU has now done with him, kind of placing him as this anti-hero character, someone who kind of, while he is a bad dude and he's done a lot of bad things, he sometimes is better to work with than work against, and also a lot of the time he does have a point in what he's saying. And he often has logic in why he does things, and I think that makes Zemo quite interesting. And, you know, I like what they've done with him. They've left him in the raft now. I think you know, this isn't the last time we're going to see Zemo. I'm pretty sure he's going to show up again in some of the Disney Plus series, or maybe in a future movie down the line, maybe Captain America 4, which I'll get to later on. But Zemo was really cool. The only thing I didn't like about Zemo in this season was the mask. Like, obviously, we got the actual comic book iconic costume in this, but it was kind of silly because they put the mask on, like the purple sock mask. They put it on for one shot. He kills a couple of guys, and then he takes it off. It kind of just felt like they did it just, you know, so they could sort of tick that box and say, okay, we've done the comic book costume, and we can make a Funko Pop of that. We can make action figures of that, and blah, blah, blah. It kind of reminded me how, if you saw my review in the Snyder Cut, I was talking about how there is really no rhyme or reason as to why Superman gets the black suit in that movie. Like, it's not explained actually within the film why he needs that black suit or why he uses it, and it felt like they just did it because they knew that fans wanted it. Kind of similar thing here. I feel like there's no reason why he puts on that mask, really. He just does. I guess you could argue he puts it on to kind of hide his face when he's fighting those goons, but he's still a criminal at the end of the day. You know, people know who he is. So, again, given the fact that it's just one shot and he never wears it again in the entirety of the series, it just kind of felt like it was a bit forced. But either way, it was still cool to see it, and I loved Zemo's inclusion within this series. And yet another character who was brought back from the Captain America series, we also have Sharon Carter returning in this as well, played by Emily Van Camp. And what a fantastic character turn they made with this character, because Sharon was never exactly an interesting character. I mean, in The Winter Soldier, she's kind of this random side character who is working for S.H.I.E.L.D., and then in Civil War, she ends up helping Cap and his team. And they throw in that kind of awkward kiss in the movie. But Sharon in this, I really liked, because Emily Van Camp, I think, is very good with this character, and especially what they do with Sharon in this, I just thought was really interesting, because they've made Sharon an actually compelling and interesting character, which they hadn't done previously. Making her the power broker, which was obviously, I mean, this was basically the equivalent of Agatha being evil in WandaVision. Like, when it was like, oh, she's the power broker, I was like, yeah, we know. But Sharon, you know, making her this character who's kind of had to turn into to the criminal world, given the fallout of Civil War. Like, she wasn't given protection, you know, in the same way the other Avengers were, because she isn't an Avenger. She wasn't given that same level of protection or privacy, and also, you know, when every other Avenger was pardoned following that, going into the events of Infinity War, you know, because she wasn't an Avenger, she didn't get that same treatment. So she was just basically banished from the US and was forced to lay low in Madripoor. Obviously, we got to see Madripoor in this as well. And I really like that, because it just made her so much more interesting. It made her a lot more of a darker character. Like, we see her in this, she's a lot more dangerous than we last saw her. She's a lot more, definitely a lot more violent than she was, you know, the last time we saw her, and also a lot more tactical. And I enjoyed that. We actually get to see her get in on the action. That was really fun. You know, we've seen a fight before. Like, we saw her fight a little bit in The Winter Soldier, and a bit, you know, she fought Bucky in Civil War a little bit. But in this, we get to see her take on a good few guys, and you get to see her as well just kind of running her criminal empire, and that was really cool to see. And obviously, we do get the post-credit scene at the end of this series as well, with Sharon being actually pardoned, so now she can operate in the US, and she's also now gotten her job back, which I'm not entirely sure what her job role is supposed to be, given the fact that when we last saw her, she was technically working for S.H.I.E.L.D., Although she was also working with Martin Freeman's character, so I don't know exactly what branch of government that is. But she is working with the government in some description. And she can now use that to access even more dangerous things for a criminal empire. So I'm sure that will come through again, maybe in Captain America 4. We'll see what they do with that. But I really like Sharon Carter in this series. Definitely a huge improvement, and I've made this character a very, very cool one from what she really wasn't that cool before. And a huge character introduced here is John Walker, aka the new Captain America. And John Walker, played by Wyatt Russell, was fantastic in this series. I loved Wyatt Russell's performance. I just thought he did a wonderful job with this character. This guy who's ex-military, he is, this happy-go-lucky, really, he is a super soldier. Like, he is literally the ideal soldier for the US government, and they have chosen him to be the new Captain America. And what I really liked about John Walker and his story was everything we learned about the laws behind Captain America, if that makes sense. Like, we found out that the shield itself doesn't actually belong to the government, so they don't really have control over it. They also don't technically have control over Captain America because that was a creation of someone else, and obviously the shield was created by Stark, so they don't actually own that. Technically, Tony Stark, if he was still alive, would have access, would have rights over the shield, but because he's not, they don't have that. So I found that really interesting, the way they were discussing all like the politics behind Captain America. I thought that was quite interesting. And John Walker as a character, seeing him as Captain America, I thought it was really good to see. Even though you hate this guy and, you hate the fact that he's taking up Cap's mantle, it was supposed to be Sam and it went to John. It was just cool to see him kind of in his own Captain America suit operating and things like that. And then on top of that, the story he has, when he takes the super soldier serum and he ends up becoming, kind of evil. He beheads the member of the Flag Smashers after the death of Battlestar. It was just a really great performance and a really great character. And obviously, I'm very excited to see what we're going to do with him in the future. We have the great cameo of Julia Louis-Dreyfus showing up in episode 5, and she's recruiting him for something. It's not entirely clear what he's being recruited for, but at the end of episode 6, we do see him with his new blacked out Captain America suit, which is obviously supposed to symbolize him becoming US agent. They do name drop US agent in that episode, so he is now US agent, and he's going to be a member of this new team, whatever that's going to be. Obviously, there's a lot of speculation it's going to be Thunderbolts. There's a lot of speculation it's going to be Dark Avengers. I think this is probably going to be more Dark Avengers than Thunderbolts, because I think Thunderbolts will come to the MCU, but I think that's going to be a different thing, especially because we do have Thunderbolt Ross in the MCU. I'm a lot more inclined to believe that he would recruit the Thunderbolts as opposed to this new character played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus. So I think this Dark Avengers is a lot more what she's doing, and it would make sense, for her to recruit John Walker to that team to kind of be the dark reflection of Captain America. That would make a lot more sense. So I really like John Walker in the series. Thought he was great, and a really great inclusion. And again, very excited and very interested to see what they're going to do with him going forward. To be honest, for me, the standout character, though, throughout this entire series was probably Isaiah Bradley, played by Carl Lumbly. This character was amazing. Carl Lumbly is a fantastic actor, and I loved him from Supergirl. Like, he played the father of Martian Manhunter on that show, and he was fantastic on that series and really delivered some truly emotional moments between himself and David Harewood on that show. But now, seeing him in Captain America, or the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, he was amazing in this. He plays this old soldier who, back in the Korean War, was experimented on and basically became the first African-American Captain America. And after him basically going against the government and rescuing his allies, he was then banished and abandoned by the government, treated as a criminal, thrown in prison. And it's just this tragic story about this character, and I absolutely love the way they portrayed it, and I think Carl Lumbly portrayed this character so well. The scenes we got with him, particularly between him and Sam, were really heart-wrenching, and he genuinely did bring tears to my eyes when I was watching the episodes with him, because he was just really perfect casting for this role, and I loved what they did with him. And though I'm a little sad we never really got any flashbacks with him, like I would have loved to have actually seen at least just one scene of him in action as Captain America back then. I don't think the series necessarily needed it. Like, I do feel like they really gave us enough just through pure words and emotion that we didn't need to see it. Again, I would have personally liked to have seen it, especially at the very end of the series when we had Isaiah Bradley visit the Captain America Museum, and obviously Sam got him his place in the museum so he wouldn't be forgotten by history. I would have loved to have seen, maybe like a shot of him in his suit or something like that. But either way, it was absolutely beautiful what they did with this character. And again, a true standout for me. Every time he was on, it just elevated the show to a whole new level. And I loved Isaiah Bradley, and a great inclusion for this series. Now, the action scenes in this were also fantastic. That was one thing I was really looking forward to with this, was to see how they were going to do the action scenes, because I think Captain America movies probably have the best action within the MCU, outside of, the final fight from Endgame and whatnot. And the action was great. I really enjoyed it. Again, it has that grounded element to it that the Captain America films are really good with, but they also utilized, the powers and the skill set of these characters really well, whether you're talking about Falcon and his flying abilities, or Bucky and his just kind of steamroller abilities and whatnot. I feel like they just did a really good job of handling the action sequences in this film, or in this series, and they were really exciting to watch. Now, the final thing I want to talk about is Sam's new suit. Obviously, this is something that the entire series was building towards, was Sam getting his Captain America suit and finally taking up the mantle of Captain America like Steve asked him to at the end of Endgame. And I really loved his new suit. It's beautiful. Such a good translation from the comics. Obviously, that's quite a difficult suit to do, given how many different colors are in it and things like that. So seeing it translated so well onto screen in live action is really nice, and it's just a great looking suit. Especially, it's quite a unique looking suit too, because we don't really have many characters in comic book media in general that have kind of mainly white prominent suits, like a suit that is predominantly white. And a lot of this suit is white, and I think it looks really, really good. And then also you have the blue and red accents to really make up the American flag colors, to really symbolize, this is Captain America. And it kind of gives Sam his own kind of flavor and his own personal kind of touch to this suit. Because obviously Cap's suits throughout the years were kind of blue for the most part, like mostly blue. It's kind of nice to give Sam almost his own color. And I think the white color almost represents, his purity and kind of how good he is as Captain America. And, him taking up the mantle is just great. Like, that speech he gives at the end of the season, truly inspirational, and also really well written, really well handled, really well acted. And just seeing him use, the shield in combination with his wings. He still has the wings, so he still has his Falcon abilities. He also just now has the shield as well. And it's just great to see him interact with all of that, use all of his abilities to the best he can. And I just loved all of that. I thought he looked absolutely fantastic in action. And again, I'm really excited to see what they're going to do with this. Obviously, at the end of the series, we do have the title actually change from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier to Captain America and the Winter Soldier. So, he is Captain America now. So is he, when we get the next Avengers film down the line, I'm really excited to see Anthony Mackie kind of become the leader of the Avengers. I'm excited to see that. So I'm really looking forward to seeing more of Anthony Mackie as Captain America going forward, and his new suit is just absolutely beautiful. And I also just can't wait to see the different iterations we're going to get of it throughout the years. Now, I mentioned it a couple of times already in this review, but I just want to speculate a little bit about Captain America 4. This was announced the day of the season finale, and they basically came out and announced that we are getting a fourth Captain America film, which is coming from the writers of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So they are going to be handling the fourth Captain America film, and they haven't announced who's directing it yet. Like, obviously, we don't know who's going to come to direct it, whether they're going to get someone new. Maybe they got the Russos to come back to do it. Obviously, they did all the most recent Avengers films, and they also did Captain America the Winter Soldier and Civil War. So, could they come back to do it? We don't know yet. But Captain America 4 is officially happening, and this is interesting because, we now have Sam. He's the new Captain America. But where does this leave characters like Bucky? Because obviously, I was kind of under the impression that we were going to get a second season of this show, and given the announcement of Captain America 4, it makes me think we maybe won't get that. So, I mean, personally, I'd rather take a Captain America 4 over a season 2 of this, just because I feel like the story of this series was kind of a one and done. And I feel like the second series would have to kind of bring in this whole new story, which, you can easily do in Captain America 4. But it's just really cool to see Captain America actually get a fourth film. It's quite a feat, really, within the Marvel Universe, which mainly sticks to trilogies, to kind of give Captain America a fourth movie. Obviously, this isn't the same Captain America, but it's still Captain America 4, and that's really cool. You know, Captain America is now up there with Thor as the only other Avenger to get a fourth film. That's really cool. So I'm really excited about Captain America 4, excited to see what they do with it. Again, I'm wondering if Captain America 4 will be a whole new story, or if it will carry on a lot of the threads that we see in this. Like maybe the Dark Avengers thing with John Walker as US agent, maybe that's going to be the story of Captain America 4. You know, maybe Zemo's going to come back into that. Maybe this whole post-credit scene with Sharon, maybe that's setting up Captain America 4. And again, how does Bucky fall back into that? Like maybe in Captain America 4 we will see Bucky kind of become the White Wolf properly. I don't know, but either way, the announcement of Captain America 4 is really exciting, and I just can't wait to see what the story is, what characters are going to be involved with it, who's going to direct it. It's just going to be a really exciting time for Marvel fans, especially for me. Like, I love Captain America. He's my favorite Avenger, and they are my kind of, like I said, I don't know if they're my favorite standalone films. Like, I love the Spider-Man films in the MCU as well, but they're certainly one of my favorites, and I'm really excited to see what they do with this character going forward. Now we have a brand new Captain America. But what did you guys think about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I know this series has been a little bit divisive. I know some people have really enjoyed it, and there's been other people who have found it a little bit underwhelming. So make sure you let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Did you like the series? Did you not? I would love to hear everything you have to say down in the comments. And if you want to see more reviews like this, whether it's movies, TV shows, video games, whatever it may be, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and also that notification bell so you don't miss any uploads from me. And hope to see you guys again next time.